You are listening to the Decipher podcast, hosted by the Super Bash Brothers. All right, we back.
We back.
Decipher podcast. Today's episode, I think we're going to get into an old saying: don't mistake movement with progress. I'm going to break down, keeping busy, keeping active, but not just turning your wheels going nowhere. I think that's kind of like the basis of that saying. I don't even know who that saying's from, but it's a good one.
That's a very good one, especially now for me. Like, that to me, it's always a struggle, daily struggle. Why don't you start off?
I guess for me, it's more, I see it as a quality over quantity. Mm-hmm. I see it as that. It's like,
and we're talking content-wise, or like things that you put out, or is it like your daily productivity? Or
I think it's just daily productivity. If it was a dancer sense, don't just make random choreography. Actually make something you like and put quality in. If it's, you got to make all like 5 flyers. Don't just make 20 that are like thrown together. Make at least 4 that you really like. So I guess in that sense, you don't want to mistake movement with progress. You just want to make sure the progress is actual progress, not just movement.
Right.
Let's see. I guess in terms of content, you definitely want to make sure you're not. Of course, consistency is key these days. Blogging and putting out music and stuff, you got to have some kind of consistency, but you don't want to just put out stuff just to put out. Like, the deadline shouldn't be more important than the craft, I guess.
Right. We were talking about that off podcast earlier. I was mentioning to you this vlogger named Casey Neistat, and I believe he's at like 8 million subs on YouTube. And daily uploads, that's crazy. As someone coming from, a videographer and editor, that's a lot of work, the way he does it. And I was mentioning earlier that it inspired a community of vloggers that's doing the same thing. And when will it become like oversaturated that it's just content? I would imagine like somewhat it would lose its quality, or the quality would degrade over time because you're burnt out, or you're
every day.
Every day. And I notice a lot of particularly YouTube content creators, they'll do that and then they get burnt out. They'll make a video and then they'll go into a scheduled upload. Like, I'm going to upload twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So change from daily to a couple times a week.
Because the quality is degrading, or whatever. But I think for me, like, that's a struggle for me every day. Busyness over being efficient. When you start your day, you're always reactive, to everything. Like, you might have like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to knock these to-do list out. And then you wake up in the morning, you check your phone, you might check Facebook, and then you find yourself scrolling through Facebook, then you go to Instagram, and then you check your email, and you're like,
it's been 45 minutes.
It's been 45 minutes, like, and then you finally get to your computer maybe, and you do the same thing, and you're kind of
or you're looking for some inspiration to kick the day off, kind of.
Right.
So you spend a little more time.
Yeah. Or like you're putting off that big task that you want to do, and so you do other things to busy yourself. So I think always, like, as far as content, and I always try to practice good quality content each time. I don't want to just put out something. At the same time, you have to find a balance, because you want to be consistent with what you put out. Some people work for that. It works for them. There's another YouTuber. He's a travel kind of vlogger. or he puts out maybe one video every 3-4 months.
Oh, okay.
But the video is so dope.
High production.
High production value. It's like, whoa, like, and people like turn on their notifications for it. So when his name's Sam Calder, and when he puts out, you see his views like just skyrocket because the quality's there.
And there's scarcity. It's not every week.
Yeah, and the demand there. Yeah, true.
Scarcity is a big thing. You know, that's another thing. Consistency is awesome, but scarcity is also a valuable thing. Nintendo Wii, they only made a few, and it made a buzz that you had to have one. You know, so having some limit to it is. It's a good thing. It's just a balance. You gotta find that balance for what you're offering.
For sure.
So, in that respects, I guess launching Let's Cypher, you know, I'm kind of in that boat where it's like, okay, I need to put something out, but I need to make sure it's like spaced out. It's not right after the next thing, or that it gives something else some time to breathe.
Right.
A mutual friend of ours, I won't say his name because I don't want him to get in trouble, but he works at Marvel, and he was saying how like the reason they don't promote certain things. So they just made like a new Spider-Man game, but they also have another game coming, but they can't talk about it because right now Spider-Man. They want to keep all attention and effort on Spider-Man. So it's like knowing you have things down the pipeline, but you got to still keep your eggs in the other basket while making eggs for the next basket kind of thing. So it was really interesting to see that it's like a huge billion-dollar corporation, you know.
Right.
All the people inside could be so excited, but they still can't say nothing until the right time.
Right.
And so there's progress, but you know they have to kind of sit back and soak in what's happening with the current game or the current product.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm looking at that too, where it's like I thought, okay, I'm gonna drop something. I'm gonna drop 3 different featured things every week, and I'm like, oh man, that's just kind of brutal. Like,
you have to be realistic in what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And you know where your standards are too.
Exactly, and it's not even on top of the realism. It's also that it's like I need to let it breathe, because if I just jam down 25 things and people only dissect maybe 2 or 3 a piece, like per person, then it's like kind of just working myself to death for no reason.
Right.
And people aren't even going to get a chance to digest it. Also.
Yeah, it's like the great debate, right? Quality over quantity. Like, so for some people it works for them, and some people it doesn't. Like, and I think it's up to the individual to find that balance. Because for me, like, I was always struggling with it, because I'm a perfectionist in the core of me. So for a long time, I wouldn't put out anything because I needed to be perfect, quote unquote, air quotes, and then it'll never put it out because I've always like there's this monkey in my head that's saying like, oh, it's not good enough, it's not ready yet, and all that stuff. And then I'm trying to practice like, okay, I'm gonna put more content out and just see what happens, and if you know, like kind of test it out, if it works, if people you know digest it well or not. And you know, I'm still struggling with that, you know. But circling back to what you were saying about earlier from that quote. Can you read me that quote one more time?
Yeah, no doubt. It's don't mistake movement with progress.
Right. So when I hear those words, I imagine a hill, and you have this boulder, right? So for me, this boulder represents momentum. So when you're pushing this fucking boulder up this hill, it's a lot easier when you're with a momentum. But when you stop and go at these things, it gets harder. So you go a couple steps up the hill, you take a break, and it's like this weight on your shoulder, and that to me is like what procrastination is. If you want to put off shit, like you're holding on, it's a lot heavier on you as a person to like hold on to that.
That's crazy.
And at the same time, like movement, like you said, you know, like that quote, if you were walking around the hill with this damn boulder. You're not really going up.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're not progressing. You're not moving up the peak of this hill.
And the goal is to get the boulder on the top.
To move forward, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of times we're doing busy work. We're walking around this hill and not going up.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the vision that comes to my mind, and that's what I try to practice. I remind myself, like, when I'm up this hill and I'm putting off this big project that I need to put out, like, I'm like, but then I'm moving around, so like I'm procrastinating. I'm doing busy work, you know. So I'm not really moving forward. In my head, I'm like, I'm doing something. I'm doing something. Am I doing something? But it's not really going towards anything. I'm just being busy, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not as efficient. So just wanted to share that thought.
No, that's a great actual visual for that kind of that situation, because I think it happens, and not only when just say for creatives, just with people. You know, like you get to work, you look at your emails in your inbox, but you're like, I need to get my coffee. I need to. So you know, in many ways, we kind of go through that.
Yeah.
But you know, it is a thing where you gotta just kind of do it. You gotta just step up and take your lumps and go through it, push that boulder up. But I think, like you said, it's easier to just keep moving. Mm-hmm. But eventually you burn out, of course. Yeah. And so,
and I think momentum is really important too. When you stop doing something, it's so much harder to pick up and to restart. But whether your momentum's slow or fast, like, I think also moving forward is good, but not, like I said earlier, not around the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Up the hill.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to look at it in terms of like the big money tech, if somebody buys a company, they can't just. It's already started. You know, so if you just bought WhatsApp, you know, in your Facebook, you can't just hit the ground running. They already kind of were going. Now they stop. Now you got to like reassess how many engineers, how many of these people you need, designers. So there's so much harder. There's this moment that it kind of just plateaus before you can actually go up again, and those are the stalling moments. That's when the stocks drop. That's when, you know, people say, oh, they just bought it, but nothing's happening, and it's like, it's hard. It's hard just to jump in there after something's already been moving and try to like put a booster on it and move it up more or faster or something. So very, very interesting. I think I see a lot of people that are elders. You know, they definitely try to stay busy, but I think it's not doing a service to what they're trying to do. And so I think this topic is just timely in that sense, that we're starting to see more OG rappers make podcasts. We're trying to see more OG dancers make shows and content or events and stuff. And it's cool that they're participating, but how you're participating might not be for the betterment of the culture or the society of that group or something. So something just to think about, I think, you know, and remind ourselves. I think everybody's a victim of it. It's part of human nature to kind of like, I'm gonna go over here for a second. I just need a break from that. You know, I'm tired of editing videos. I'm afraid to make a song.
Yeah.
Like,
that's me all
I still
day.
got 15 more videos I should make.
Oh, that's me.
But I really want to make a song because I need to do something different. Yeah. That's me too, man. So I get it. I totally get it. I guess this is kind of just an open reminder for us all.
Yeah.
Just
like going to your point about people creating content, like elders creating content. And sometimes it's when we watch someone create something, we're inspired by it, and we think that we want to do the same thing, which is great. But I think if that's what your calling is, then go ahead and do it. But if you're, let's say, someone is watching a dope video and now you want to be a videographer, that just doesn't happen. You gotta do your research. You gotta educate yourself. You gotta do some practice and training and experience and all that stuff. But is that for you? You don't have to be one. As I think that's what I'm gathering from what you were saying. Like, some of these elders are doing certain things which they shouldn't be doing. You know, maybe you shouldn't be doing that and doing something else that would fulfill you a lot more, or you know.
I guess one thing, this is a little off topic, but it's somewhat related. What I'm understanding more and more is the word producer and what it really means and what it is. And I feel, quote unquote, OGs or people have spent time in some field. If you don't have to do it, you could produce it. And I mean that by saying, little Tommy in your dance company wants to throw a show. I don't have to throw the show. I can produce the show. I can help him.
Right.
I could really call in some favors, get the numbers for him, and say, hey, if you can go sell this many chocolates and get this thing done, we can do your little event or whatever, right? And I think as OGs, or older people that have been in some facets, film, music, whatever, you kind of forget, like, I could just produce. I don't have to be the star. I don't have to be the one that's like, hey, oh, yeah, no, that's my event too. You know, or this is my mixtape too. Like, no, like, this is little homie. He's rapping. But, you know, I executive produced it. I called X person and Y person to mix. And, you know, and I think that's something we just need to kind of do more, you know. That's in a way that's giving back, you know, producing. We have the experience and the knowledge, so we should be producing. And I think more and more these days, I don't see the word producer as a music thing. I see it as like somebody who can help enable somebody to do something.
Yeah. It's like a service and an act of giving to providing, you know, opportunity for other people too.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Sometimes the word producer, executive producer, means like you got the dough.
True.
You provide dough to whatever production you want to do, you know. But a lot of times in the grassroots level, like, or the community level, the producers do most of the work. Yeah. You know, they do most of the grind. They network and all that stuff. They really make shit happen. Yeah.
But it also comes down to the other person, the younger or whoever, wanting to be produced. If you can't be produced, or you don't want someone producing you, then that's not going to work either.
For sure.
If you're like, I'm going to do it all on my own, I don't need nobody, then, you know, more power to you. I hope it works, but, you know, you can't blame those older people for not helping or trying to produce you, and if you don't want to be produced. So I think it goes both ways. And
as a recording artist, as a dancer, as a talent, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even as a filmmaker, or you know.
Totally, as a filmmaker, and specifically as a filmmaker.
Yeah, because we need those. For filmmakers, we need producers, because we want to focus on the creative side and not have to deal with dates and deadlines and all that stuff.
Like you want to worry about the shot and the cinematography, and you want someone else to worry about, okay, the time of day, is there water? Yeah. You know, all that like totally. Food. Yeah, the craft services, all that. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something we just need to embrace more, you know. It's okay to have 5 producers on a project.
Yeah, for sure.
You can still be the owner and the founder, but you can still have
it's kind of at some point. And on the outside, it looks, you know, so glamorous, like you produced it and all that stuff. But it's kind of a selfless type thing where, I mean, for some producers, I'm sure there's bad apples in the bunch, but. You know, there's most of the producers, at least that I know that I've worked with, either with events or like film, like they're always super like nice and giving, because that's part of a quality that you need, you know, as a producer.
Totally, man. Man, I don't know what else to bring up about this topic, but I think we just jumped in the water pretty deep.
I mean, we could talk about like quality over quantity as a content creator, right? Because or as a talent, like when is it? How much do you put out, or how consistent do you put out as either? What's the golden number or ratio? You know. Whether you're a musician, a producer, a photographer, videographer, illustrator, whatever, or just a personal brand, what is right, you know?
Yeah.
I've personally done some research on it, like trying to figure out, as far as I looked at both as a company, as a dance studio, and how often I should like be posting on Instagram. And there's a lot of things on the interwebs that gives you tips,
do's and don'ts,
and all that stuff. And you also got to look at your audience. You know, like do they want to consume your content every day? You know, or do they want more quality? You know, it's such a balancing act. Sometimes you got to figure out what you want, how often you want, in your workflow and workload.
Put that out there, and then try to get the reception on it.
Yeah, and if so, circling back to what you said earlier, like the demand has to be there. There's scarcity there, then you know, people would want more of your content. Like what I mentioned earlier about Sam Colder, like I want to see more of this shit. Like that now he's putting out a little bit more. He's giving the audience a little bit more. He'll post Instagram stories and, to tie the audience over while he works on this amazing travel edit. It's but you know, it works for different people
in different ways. Yeah, I think timing is everything, and
for sure
you can't like quantize timing. I don't know. You can't put timing in something and say this is what the timing is standard for everybody. And it's like, no, like for these people that are into heavy metal, the timing might be different than people that are into pop music. And
we're creatures of habit too. So when we put out content or whatever, if we're on a consistent basis with your content, I think scheduling something, letting your audience know, like, hey, we're going to release a podcast on Tuesday at 8 p.m. You know, so people know to expect it every Tuesday at 8 p.m., especially if it's on a daily thing. But if you're a creator or an artist that whenever you're inspired, if you drew something or painted something, you know, and you put it out and maybe send out a teaser like I'm working on this, or
be on
the lookout. But little guidelines like that also helps.
I guess even in the beginning it's tough because, like you said, you know, it's like this podcast, let's just take that for an example. Putting it out on Tuesday. Tuesday's usually the ideal day for content anyways, but, you know, you might want to try it on a Wednesday just to see, you know.
And do some testing.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that you have to do in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's progress. That's not just movement. You know, that's actual progress. You're doing something with the intention of finding something information-wise back. Like, okay, we did that on a Wednesday, but we only got 10 opens or 10 listens. Okay, let's try it on a Thursday. Okay, Thursday we got 14. Okay, so Thursday's right now leaning like the day, but we haven't tried all the days yet, you know, so definitely, you know, that's part of progress, you know, finding your rhythm, finding
for sure
your outlet.
And just to share a little bit of our progress on this podcast, like trying to schedule our schedule, schedule our schedule, like, you know, trying to find, I think that's progress, just trying to stay consistent with it, you know. You know,
especially as things in life change.
For sure. And we're dealing with that now, and we're still trying to grind it through. And we're coming in with a mentality where we want to share what we have, and we'll see where it takes us. You know, there's a few hiccups here and there as we go through this podcast journey, but I think that's progress as well. You know, there's so many things that you can measure as progress, but then there's also things that, you know, is that going towards the goal? Are you doing, you know, like we could be like just.
It's not just movement right now, for sure. It's progress. You know, we're analyzing each episode. We're trying to break it down and say, okay, what should we do different this time? You know, taking little feedbacks here and there. So for me, it's progress more than movement. Where it's like, yo, man, it's week. It's another week. Yo, we got to meet up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not. That's when it gets.
Because we want to keep a certain vibe or a certain synergy together. Because we could force it that way, but then we're going, oh fuck, I gotta do this again. We're making it work, and we skipped a week maybe where we couldn't like hook up, and then we're back on. It's just
I think transparency was just us. It's been a learning process, but it's been definitely getting easier and easier.
For sure.
Setting up times and knowing what we got to do and all that.
Our insecurities.
I've heard my voice enough. I don't care anymore.
Oh god.
Good thing I got those bass filters.
Make me sound sexy.
Right? 1 dirty away from Mappy, 3 from me.
Times 10. No, but I think it's also like, we were talking about this. We can go off topic, but we're talking about our journey here and moving forward, circling back. Like, we like talk about our kind of discuss what we're gonna talk about in a podcast and stuff like that.
Pre-production meeting. Let's make it sound cool, right?
Pre-production, but we also like want to keep it natural. We're not. For me, I'm not doing research overly, about it. Like,
coming in here with like bullet point facts.
Yeah.
Like, yo, man, and on this Google link, I saw this.
Because then my thoughts. Maybe I should. I don't know. You guys let us know. Comment below.
Let us know if you were just too off script. But
leave us a review. No, I don't know. But we try to keep it natural, and some stuff we'll discuss over off podcast, and we're like, oh, save that for later.
Like, oh, stop, don't ruin it. But definitely, like the intros and outros I make for this, I'm reading, and I can just tell there's a difference.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah. You can tell there's a difference when I'm reading and when I'm just kind of just talking.
No, I like it because that's what you're supposed to hear. I feel like it makes me like, oh, here's an intro.
Right, but then it's like, okay, they're just chatting. It's not like scripted. It's not made up.
It's like when you watch a choreographed dance and a freestyle dance. You could tell from the way we're delivering our words. You can tell we're reading something off.
There's like no ums when I'm reading. But there's like a billion now when I'm like thinking off the top. No, I'm just kidding. So I guess in terms of just, keeping it moving, it's all about the progress. It's all about making moves. But just, remind yourself, you don't got to go around the mountain.
Yeah.
You still got to go up.
Yeah.
You can maybe go up at a different pace. You don't have to go the same speed.
Yeah.
Try not to end up going around. Too many lateral moves. Try to go upward and onward.
I mean, maybe there's a challenge in front of you, and you might have to go around a little bit, and then go back to where you were going. For me, it's really keeping the momentum, and I'm by no means like have this mastered. I still deal with this kind of thing that we're talking about on a daily. It's a struggle daily, and for me at least, and I want to meet someone that's mastered this because I want to be inspired. I want to see what they're doing, if it's even something that's possible for someone to not feel lost sometimes.
You're like a full-time creative. Like, to me, you're a full-time creative. You don't have like a part-time job at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then you do like film and make money. Like, you're a full-time creative. You wake up, you have things to do that are creative related.
Right.
And that's how you're making your income. And
I've been doing it for a while. It's kind of I sometimes I forget, because it feels like work. Sometimes it feels a lot like work.
But that's all you know now, right?
I have a gripe. What's that quote that says, if you find your passion and you never work a day in your life? I have a gripe about that quote. That's bullshit. Because when you find your passion, you work more than fucking. But you know what?
40 hours a week.
We just gotta change the meaning of that work. For me, like, I love the work, but it's work.
It's work.
It's grind. But it's not the work that you don't enjoy and you not feel passionate about. It's work.
But it's still work.
I'm working more than I ever have than when I used to work a regular job. I work 24 hours, 7 days a week, 8 days a week.
Right.
You know, it's always on the brain and stuff, but
exactly. So that's, I guess, for you, it's definitely easy to see these traps where it's like, I need to take a break here.
That's the word I was looking for earlier, Rick. Is trap. We go fall in this trap all the time. I don't know. For me, I don't know about you, but do you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll start writing a song, and then I'm like, okay, you know, I don't need to make a beat. It's like, fool, I already got a beat I'm writing to, but for some reason I just need a break.
Yeah.
And I'll just.
What are the kind of things that you do to, like, you know, check yourself when you're going through certain
I guess my biggest crutch for all this has been trying to jump from something to something that's still towards the same goal. So like with Decipher, it's like, okay, if I'm not editing videos, I'm working on music for Decipher. So, you know, at least if I do pivot, it's towards something of the same goal, but I should have just really just knocked whatever X out.
Right. And sometimes you feel like you're just going around the hill, you know, circles, like in circles. Like, because especially what we do, ideally you want to just focus on one project and then get that shit done. Knock it out. But with, you know, like a modern or a multi-disciplined artist or creative, we're having to juggle all these little things, all these different projects at the same time, and sometimes they have the same fucking deadline or around the same time. So you might have to work on, for me, I might have to work on a video, and then I am working on and editing a client's photo, and then I'm doing scheduling something for my dance teams, or then I'm editing, like, but I'm all doing these things at the same time, and I feel like, what the,
your schedule, just you see a block, then another block,
and I just feel like I'm just walking like or like slanted around the mountain. You know, it feels like I'm like, am I moving forward? You know, like, because I'm doing all these little things and like, so it's a struggle. You know,
it's a struggle, but you know, for people that are really busy like yourself, and like I've kind of looked into people that are into that, like the Tim Ferrisses and the Elon Musk. Like, how the fuck do they do that, right?
Right, because they have fucking the same fucking number of hours as we do.
Right, but they actually make time for bleed over. So they kind of say, you know, from noon to 2, I'm doing this project. But from 2 to 2:15, there's nothing. And that doesn't mean he's just going to sit there and like pick his nose. So that just means if he needs to think about something else, something comes up. The last project at 2 kind of went over. He has this buffer, and mentally it gives them a cushion, kind of where it's like, all right, I got this extra dead time, but it's not dead time.
Right.
And that's something I'm starting to kind of learn myself.
So like, blocking times for bleed.
Yeah. To just pivot mentally, or to okay, I gotta fucking take care of my dog during these 30 minutes, and then I can refocus my brain or whatever. So I think you know, just something with that. You gotta just play with your schedule and find what works for you.
Yeah. So for me, like, I'm trying to create. So a lot of these entrepreneurs or these successful people, when you study them, they always have these habits that they follow every day, right? And that's the habits is what really make them successful. If they can stay consistent with the habits, like a lot of them have a morning routine, like, and if you can like knock out those morning routine, they've prepped themselves to be successful all day because they're mentally there, their body's ready, you know. So one of those things, maybe they'll meditate or they'll have like the workout in the morning. That's what I've been trying to kind of apply with my life, especially with everything, because I get so overwhelmed really easily. Yeah. So like, I'm trying this thing, and it's a struggle to stay consistent with it, but I'm doing this thing where every day I blocked out my morning routine, and I blocked out when what I'm doing in those times. So I know there's like, I'm at the studio from 4 to 9 o'clock every day, you know, and then I have some time, so I'll see visually where my blocks of time will come. So there's things that I do every day that I've blocked out, and there's there's slots that are open that I can put. I'll edit video here or blah blah blah. You know, and I have it down to like in intervals of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, not necessarily like 9:08. You know, like just around that time. And
Elon does 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
By 5 minutes at a time.
By 5 minutes,
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
Like what's 5 minutes every day? Yeah.
But to him,
it works for him.
Important. Every 5 minutes are very important.
Yeah. So I'm trying this blocking time management strategy where you block things off. I'm working on trying to do more blocking in the bigger sense. Like if I have, right now I'm currently working on some of the content for our Instagram. So we do this thing called birthday shadow. We do birthday shadows for the dancers, right? So before I was doing it, when their birthday would come up, edit their photo, export, put it on Photoshop, put their name on it, put the, do all this stuff, export and upload. And then, so now what I'm doing is, now we're in July, so now I'm trying to pick, edit, and export all the images from this month till December. Yeah. So I haven't done.
Like a 6 months.
Yeah, so like I did the same thing. We were posting Motivational Mondays. Mm-hmm. We'd post dance quotes. So I just knocked them all out. So I have all this content that I created for like 6 months. Yeah. And so I'm good for 6 months.
You use your energy elsewhere.
Yeah, because before I would design it, boom, and it drained me. Now I just kind of figured out a way to create a template, change the fucking quote, boom. Before I would change the font and like resize everything. It was like, oh, this is not working for me, because then I could be doing something else that could progress my business. But I'm over here designing quotes that don't have an ROI. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in inspiration, but I don't get money from that. Right, Instagram doesn't pay me. But so anyways, I've learned to block them and stuff, so it helps my me be more efficient in my day,
It's like you said earlier, that helps you build momentum. You make 5, it's easy to just keep going and make 5 more, because you got the template there, you already got your rhythm going, you got your preset set, just drop it in. So I think that just goes hand in hand with what you're saying. Like, you're building a rhythm and you're building momentum. It's easy to just kind of keep going then, and instead of like stop. Okay, next month, I got 3 birthdays. Okay, I guess I'll do 3, and then stop. So
and it's pretty tough, because I have to find what works for me. And before, like this, when you presented this topic to me, I was like, this is my life. This is my life. Shit. Like, it really is. Like, it's such a struggle every day, because then, you, as an artist, I want to feel inspired when I do something. I'm still in that kind of romantic way of thinking, like, I want to be inspired, then I'll get to do something. When you have to create on demand, it's hard. You have to make it work for you. It's draining. You know what I mean? And you can circle around, like, and you find less momentum, but like I said, I don't have this mastered, and it's a daily struggle. And we're humans, and I think we should, be a little bit easy on ourselves. We can get overwhelmed, and but we just gotta keep moving forward, and stay that momentum. Like, if you lose it,
find a way to get it going. But once it's going, don't lose it again.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't a train like that too? Right?
Yeah.
It starts slow, and then
starts slow, locomotive.
Yeah.
And then once it's building, it's gone. They don't want to stop it again.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt. Yeah, I think we should just end it on that, because that's like great advice for anybody, creative or not. If you're an athlete, same thing, go off your momentum. So yeah, man, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We out of here, Decipher Podcast. Till next time. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Decipher Podcast. Show your support by passing this episode along on your social media. If there are any topics you would like us to discuss on future episodes, or feedback on this episode, please leave us a comment or message. Peace, positivity, and prosperity.